Hi everyone, this is Candace. Welcome back to day 31 of my 100-day health challenge. I am doing another quick check-in because I'm still pretty exhausted from my trip. I've got to be honest, so I did pretty well on this trip, but I'm finding that the things I've learned are both positive and negative about how I still travel. So it has been a couple years really since I've traveled anywhere big, and I've already traveled twice this year, and I did pretty well when I went to Salt Lake City, and then this last trip, I did really well when I was already there, but I have to say there were some things that I did that I think kind of lingering from habits when I've been sick in the past, and then also traveling, that I think it actually helped me gain back a little bit of the weight. I didn't gain back a ton, so I won't say it was terrible, but I did gain a lot more back than I wanted, so it was kind of frustrating. It's like, to be honest, there was that moment where I'm like, oh shoot, why is the scale going back up again? And it's like, dang it, I was not hoping for that. But you know, I also have to realize that I didn't do the best on some things. Like, for example, when I was really exhausted and not feeling as great, I had a little bit of a headache and everything on Sunday. I ended up eating a lot of rice. Ended up eating it at some weird hours because I was up and restless. And so I did the whole late night snacking thing, which was not good because that's always a bummer, and it makes it hard for you to digest at night. And then it's also just extra food that you don't even think about that you're putting in, but then it ends up impacting. So that sucked. So I ate a bunch of rice, and it was white rice. I had a lot of I had good meat with it, like chicken or even a little bit of bacon and stuff, but I definitely kind of did that more like, when you're not feeling well, and it's not as much of a comfort eating, but just like, oh, these are the things that usually when I'm sick, I'm used to eating, and where I'd already had a bunch of that while I was actually sick, because all I could really stomach was things like rice and, plain bland stuff, then that just added on a whole nother level, layer of stuff this weekend. Then I did give in and had a couple small glass Frappuccino bottles of the Starbucks stuff, and those are so sugary, and just basically they're not even coffee really, they're like sugar and coffee a little bit, but those were not good. So I definitely had those. I didn't even think about it, but I literally had just I was looking for something to grab, and I mean that was also late at night, so where I was already having trouble sleeping, even though I needed something, I should have probably gone for something different. And so I wasn't as careful about making sure the drinks were available. Then on the travel on the way home was especially hard because I actually had an area where I got all the way down there, and I thought there were there were actually some restaurants. So I knew they were there, but the things that I thought would be there, the food selection was very much different. And I did not want to go to Wendy's. I didn't want to go to, I think it was McDonald's was the other one. And I thought for sure the little deli market thing or the tap room place they had would have more stuff, but they were so heavy. A lot of sandwiches, a lot of heavy, bar type food, where I was just like, oh, that's not going to sit well. So I went over to the Cinnabon. And I thought for sure, oh, this is going to be terrible. I'll just get some fruit and a parfait or something. Well, I did, but I went ahead and gave into the temptation of oh, well, I haven't had much today, so I'll have just a couple of those little donut-y puff things. And I just shouldn't have done it. But I was just thinking, oh, it won't be that bad. But, it's got so much to it. And when you're, already had some bad choices over the weekend, I mean, yeah, you look at every meal differently, but I should have just not done that. So that did not help. And then I found when I got home, because I didn't have any groceries and stuff, I ended up ordering food, but I ended up ordering sandwiches, which just because I was looking to order a certain amount, but I really should have just gone ahead and done a little bit extra money and splurged for something healthier and better than what I did get, because I think that really then just pushed that over another edge of I didn't have anything unhealthy to drink or anything, but it was definitely the big breads and the extra kind of heavier stuff. And yeah, so it was kind of this week has been a little bit of a letdown, but I'm going to keep going. I'm actually thinking about ordering again tonight because I literally I did not have time to go get groceries. I ended up having a nap in the middle of the day, but then I way overslept my alarm. And so then I didn't get anything hardly done, and I did run a couple errands and things, but I did a couple things like that in the middle of the day. I just need to get back on track. So this happens sometimes. You fluctuate back up. What I'm trying to remind myself of is not to be too hard on myself. I've still lost a significant amount of weight. And it's not that unusual that when you're first starting to add healthy habits back in, especially when you're traveling, that you might gain some weight back. And it could have been a lot worse, but I just need to watch that. And just when I reflect back on what I'm going to do next time, I now have some even more realizations of like, okay, it's one thing to bring snacks, but if I'm not going to have some kind of meal replacement, because I thought for sure some of the things I brought would be enough if I had to. But then the problem is once I faced that situation and I was just tired, I wanted something to eat, I needed something a little bit more substantial. I realized that what I had wasn't really sufficient, or at least didn't sound as appetizing. And I was eating a bunch of that stuff at the same thing over and over. So I didn't want to keep eating, nuts or whatever. And so I think what I've realized is that I got to be more adamant to find a good meal replacement, like whether that's a protein bar or something that, I know it's not the best, but that it tastes good and it's better than what I'm going to find in some of the places, just in case, because I thought for sure I'd find more, but between the time and the delays and the different scheduling and stuff that I wasn't expecting, or that you sometimes don't expect, I just needed to be even more adamant about that. And really what I should have also done was have better plans for like, what am I going to do if I'm wanting this kind of drink or this, because drinks didn't even really cross my mind. I mean, it did. Like, I actually asked my parents if they could have some cold brew coffee, a good plain brand unsweet, while I was there. And that helped during the day. But then when I had those moments of I just wanted something that was easy to carry, that I could have with me and just like take back in the room, and when it was the middle of the night, I should have had some backups there too. So yeah, it's been a bit of a hit and a miss week. It was definitely a super fun trip. The things I did eat while I was there, I was really good at. I think I just need to now work on, I need to be even more intentional when I travel, because I'm going to be traveling again in December. So I got to be even more intentional about what do I eat, what do I take, what do I have on hand just in case, because this wasn't enough. Also, I need to make plans for when I get home, whether that's asking a neighbor or, friends who have a key to the house, or my, sister, whether that's asking them to say, hey, I'm going to leave some money on the counter here. If you could, like the day I'm going to get back or the day before, order or go buy these things at the store and just leave them in the house. Because I don't like to leave the groceries while I'm gone, especially if I'm going to be gone a long trip, because I'm going to be gone longer in December and having people check it more frequently. So that might be the better case then, to have people just say, hey, I'm going to leave this money so you can buy these things, but would you buy these things for me, and just put them in the fridge and on the counter for when I get back, because that would have been so much better than me ordering food both yesterday and then possibly again today. So I think I just need to think through some of those things more. I'm getting back into the swing of traveling like this more frequently. I mean, I used to travel a lot, and then I hadn't as much the last 2 years. So I think it's just rebuilding habits. It's just rebuilding healthy habits, being more conscientious of, I planned my trip ahead of time, but there were things I didn't even think about, or moments where I ran into the barrier of what I had wasn't good enough to overcome the temptation or the need for something. And so I needed to have a better option for that. Also realizing that what I thought was available, even though I looked it up ahead of time, wasn't actually as good as I thought it would have been. I should have looked closer at the menus, or even just realized that the menus they had on there may not have been totally accurate. So anyways, that's just some thoughts I've had reflecting about the weekend and the trip and everything. And what it's not surprising that my scale's gone up some. I'm still pleased with where I'm at. I mean, there's a part of me that wants to say no, this is stupid. Because the honest truth is I was sure that I probably built myself up too. I mean, you want to be hopeful and stuff, but I probably built myself up too much, but didn't do enough of the other, I didn't think through every scenario, which that's, we don't always think through every scenario. But I think what I did was I set myself up thinking oh my gosh, I'm going to do so well on my trip that I'm going to either just I'll at least stay steady, or I'm actually lose some. And then it's I should have probably realized that it was more realistic that this first trip where I haven't done a lot of these habits, and I'm going to have to be adjusting to things that I might actually gain some back. So it was disappointing to look at the scale, but at the same time, I'm just reminding myself that it's not the end of the world, because I mean, look how far I have come and look how far I still am, even because, you know, in the past I could have probably, like a trip like that, especially quick turnaround with like all the stresses and the physical stressors and the potentially like stressful situations you're in at the airport and the delays and all that. I should have just realized that it was, you know, I got to give myself some grace that I only gained back some of it. And like, I'm going to be working again, and it'll be fine. You know, like it's going to happen. It's going to be slow. Sometimes there's going to be 2 steps forward, 5 steps back, and then 7 steps forward, 2 steps back. You know, like it's going to be a back and forth. I'm literally, I have to think about this. I'm literally reversing the damage of almost probably 10 years or more, because I've had so many different sicknesses and things in there that kept me from being able to do anything hardly, and I had to focus on getting all my actual immune stuff fixed and the health things fixed before I could even think about losing weight. And, you know, I tried within there, but I had some serious things that I had to deal with that I literally couldn't lose weight for the longest time. And even when I would try, it would fluctuate so badly back and forth. And so I have to realize that and then this for you all too, like we kind of hope and expect unrealistically, like we kind of confuse this optimism for being, I guess we're not realistic enough sometimes. Like optimism is great, but we don't want to take it to the extreme. Like we need to be hopeful and have goals, but we also need to be brutally realistic about like what's going on in our present. Like just be forward with ourselves of like, the reality is I'm dealing with close to 10 years of damage and that's not to be depressing or anything. It's just that I'm dealing with, whether it was in my control or not, some things were, some things weren't. I'm dealing with 10 plus years of damage that is not going, and then I'm hoping and expecting it's going to change overnight. I mean, it is in some ways, but I have a long way to go. And it's not a discouraging thing necessarily, that the fact that I've come so far and I'm making this journey, and this is a huge step in the right direction. I mean, this is more than I've ever done in a long time. And so I'm just trying to maintain that balance of like how frustrating this is in ways. And the perfectionist side of me is like, this is stupid. I should have been here already and I'm not, and all these things. So I think just cut yourself some slack, give grace, realize that we're fixing things that have been going wrong for a long time. And it's going to take some time, but it's going to be so worth it. And when you make mistakes like I did this weekend and gain stuff back, it's not as bad as it could have been, but I just need to realize, okay, so I just need to switch up what I'm doing again. And I just need to realize that, okay, I'm just going to have to do things a little bit differently again and just move forward from here. It's an opportunity to make new choices every time. I may have made some poor choices this weekend, but I can reflect on those, look at what happened, what needs to be fixed, and then move forward from here. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move forward from here. I'm going to make some different choices again, set myself up for success going forward. And that's pretty much what my plan is. So, well, I'm going to just leave it here at this kind of quicker check-in. And I'm going to go ahead and leave you there. I think I already said that. But anyways, my brain is still also a little bit fuzzy. I need to get to sleep early tonight. I hope I can, since I took a longer nap than I planned. But anyways, I will check in with you all tomorrow. I hope you have a good rest of your evening. Bye.